Janie Mae Crawford grew up with a rough childhood. She was the outcome of a young black girl being raped by her white school teacher, leaving her half white and half black in Florida around the time of 1887. Her mom leaves in her life, leaving her to be brought up by her grandmother, whose experience shaped her as a grandmother. Janie had always been obsessed with the idea of love, specifically through somewhere between a bee and a pear tree. But her views of love change when her grandmother forces her into her first marriage, but that one does not work out, leading her to her second marriage and then her third, which we will both be comparing. Her second marriage, Joe Starks, was a really successful man, which was something that really drew in Janie. He was the first mayor of the first all-black city in Florida. However, he treated her as a servant and not a wife. He publicly downsized her during his speech as a mayor. For example, the quote, he even had the audacity to hit Janie. Thankfully for her, he was diagnosed with liver failure, and on his deathbed, when she finally had enough, she told him how she truly felt, and basically along the way killed him, and as his last words were, that he wished death upon Janie. Now for the third marriage and the better marriage, we have Tea Cake, who annoys Janie so much that she just had to love him. He is kind. An example being when he helps her clean up the store when everyone else had left, he said. They also both eventually moved to the Everglades, where Tea Cake lets her hang out with her friends, something Joe never let her do. While some more bumps in the relationship happen, some, such as cheating scandals on both sides, they still get through it. As a final test to their relationship, a hurricane comes, and instead of leaving, they stay. Janie almost drowns in the bad weather, and then Tea Cake goes to save her, and while he does, gets bit by a rabid dog. Tea Cake does eventually contract the disease of rabies and becomes crazy at the very end. He points a gun to Janie, and she does the same, and out of self-defense kills him. Pretty similar to the death of Joe, just without the guns. Both of these relationships have similarities and differences. One similarity being that they both die because of Janie and both die because of an illness due to stubbornness. For example, Joe died out of shock from Janie and liver failure, of course, and Tea Cake dies because of Janie killing her, due to the rabid dog, of course, which both of these things could have been prevented. However, there were many more differences than similarities on how they treated her. For example, during Joe's speech as mayor, he calls her a housemaid and insults her in front of everyone. However, Tea Cake does the opposite and helps her pick up her store at the end of the day. Another difference is Janie is not allowed to socialize when married to Joe, but is allowed to socialize when married to Tea Cake. While these relationships both made her feel different in different types of ways, they both had an impact on who she was at the end of the book. And while one can see both similarities and difference, I think we can all agree that one can argue that Tea Cake was the better husband for Janie.